All right, game week is here. We're a little bit more than 24 hours out. Let's get some predictions. Let's talk in depth about what Arizona needs to do. You are listening to Locked On Wildcats podcast.
You are Locked On Wildcats, your daily podcast on the Arizona Wildcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for keeping it Locked On Wildcats. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, it's Friday. Arizona football is here. Well, it's almost here, and we're kind of at the point right now where we're going to have to come up with a new choice here, or an idea here on where Arizona actually is. So, California is a good test for the Wildcats for a variety of reasons. First and foremost, the first thing is that California is a solid team. This is the epitome of a team that feels like they should be about 7-6, possibly 8-5, depending on how everything goes. Justin Wilcox is a defensive mind, as we know. He's done a pretty good job at Cal. And let's just talk about the offense first. You look at the offense, and Jack Plummer is solid. There's nothing spectacular about Jack Plummer, but he's solid. And I don't think that anybody can take that away from him, really. But he's also not going to turn the ball over. One thing about him is that he has had years where, if you look at his career, he has thrown for 31 touchdowns and only 12 interceptions. That's that's impressive right there. There's not a real dynamic factor to him. So you need to keep that in mind, because if he's out of the pocket, it's not like he's going to go anywhere or he's going to do anything like that. But where you're also at, though, is that California, though, also has players around him that can make his job a lot easier. And let's talk about those guys. First, Jaden Ott. Jaden Ott is a very good running back for Cal. He was a top 250 recruit out of high school, really good player, and he can catch the ball out of the backfield. He can run between the tackles a little bit. Quite frankly, there's a lot to like about him. He looks like an NFL type player. Then you look at it, and they're at the wide receiver positions. You got Jeremiah Hunter, and you've got Jamichael Sturdivant. Now, both these guys, especially Sturdivant, were pretty highly rated guys coming out of high school, especially Sturdivant. Sturdivant has the look of a guy who could be a pro at some point. I mean, he's that good. So this is going to be a real test for the Arizona secondary right there, mainly because you've got an efficient, not a great, but an efficient passing game. And you've got players around there as well that can help out. Again, Plummer's not going to make a ton of plays on his own. I don't think that there's any question about that. That's not really going to be his. That's not really his MO. But he's going to be able to have players around him that will be able to help him out, and that's a big deal. You see it all the time with quarterbacks that aren't particularly. That aren't particularly. How do I put this? Dynamic. Yes, you know what makes them look dynamic? What makes them look a lot more dynamic is when they have players around them. Cal's got players around him. So we just talked about that. Now let's talk about in the secondary then for the Cats how exactly this is going to come to bear. How this might come to bear down, pardon the pun. But a couple different things. First, when it comes to Arizona, you've got to the defensive backs have to be good in this game. You got to be healthy. Christian Roland Wallace has been very good for Arizona throughout the season. I think we all know that. but he also needs to be able to, against a really big time player, and we're talking a big time player right now in Jermichael Sturdivant, he's going to have to be able to, he's going to have to hold up, because Cal is going to try to run the ball. We're going to get to that in a second as to where their problems are, but Cal is 100% going to try to run the ball. So if they run the ball, it's going to be a problem for Arizona. So that's why the secondary has to step up, and mainly they've got to be able to step up as well, because right now Arizona's at a spot right now where if Arizona gives up yards through the air, it's going to make things a lot easier. So Traden Stukes has to be healthy out there. That's the big thing. Traden Stukes has to be healthy. If he's healthy, then he's going to be able to make I think the secondary should be fine. Now, looking at the rest of the squad, then you look at the second, or you look at that offensive line for Cal. That is their Achilles heel. Cal has one of the absolute worst offensive lines in the entire country, bar none. You can look at it by any stat, by any metric, by any measure, and you can quickly realize that this is a game that Arizona should be able to get after the quarterback. This is a game that Arizona should be able to cause some real problems with. And that starts with being able to stop the running game. If you don't listen, no matter how good your running back is, if you don't have a good offensive line, it's going to be tough for that running back. I mean, unless you're somebody like Barry Sanders, and people always say, well, what if Barry Sanders was on the Cowboys? He would have had a 3,000-yard season. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Now, but this is also going to be a massive game, though, a huge game all the way around for the Arizona pass rush. Arizona has to be able to get after Jack Plummer. Now that goes with Hunter Echols, that goes with Jalen Harris. They have to be able to get after the passer. There's no doubt about that, and I think they should. Hunter Echols feels like an NFL type player. Again, things could be. We're going to find out throughout the entire season, but Hunter Echols feels like an NFL player, and there's been a long time since Arizona's had defensive backs that have felt like they were NFL players. That just doesn't really happen around here, and I'm not really breaking any news on that. That's just kind of the way. That's just kind of the way it is. But in games like this, when you have an advantage, you got to be able to take advantage of it, pardon the pun, and Arizona certainly has an advantage there. Then you look at the defensive tackles, Keon Bars and Paris Shand, got to be able to make some plays right there. Got to be able to get some and keep the offensive linemen off the secondary, and that's where Jerry Roberts steps in. I look for Jerry Roberts to have a big game here. Honestly, I look for Jerry Roberts basically every single game to be able to have a big game, because he's an instinctive guy. You know where he's going to be at all times, and it's very rare that you find somebody that is just consistent game in and game out, especially somebody that's a transfer. But he's been that, and a transfer from a smaller school, but he's been that. And Jed Fish talked about this before the season. Jed Fish said that, all right, I need Jerry Roberts was well on his way to being to causing some being a really good player, and it just kind of went by the wayside when he got injured and he had a few different issues. He's been locked and loaded and ready to go, so that's obviously going to be big for Arizona right there. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about Arizona on the offensive side of the ball and what they can really do here against the Cal Golden Bears, because Arizona should be able to score. I know that Arizona's got some, I know that there are some players that, can, really cause some issues right there, but we're going to get to that in a second. Offensively, though, for Arizona. First, though, I want to tell you about my solar nerd. All right. Anybody that lives in the Southwest, that, it's probably better to have solar. It's probably cheaper, but I also don't know exactly, is it going to be a little too complicated? Is it going to be not exactly what everybody makes it out to be? Everybody's got those questions when it comes to solar. My solar nerds mission is to be able to stop that. The guys at mysolarnerd.com are local and understand the nuances of going solar in Arizona. They've been doing this for a long time, longer than we've probably even been thinking about solar. They firmly believe that if you live in Arizona, switching to solar should mean saving money. Now, here's the deal. Sign up with them, and our listeners will get a $50 Amazon gift card when they book a no commitment evaluation. This promotion is only for listeners that are homeowners. Visit mysolarnerd.com and select Locked On in the How Did You Hear About Us? And make sure to switch to solar on your terms. Start your research process by visiting mysolarnerd.com and show Locked On some love by letting them know we sent you. And then again, folks, going solar doesn't need to be complicated. mysolarnerd.com makes it easy. Check it out, mysolarnerd. All right, I got to write down that timestamp too, by the way. All right. Now, when it comes to Arizona, though, on the offensive side of the football, Cal does a very good job, and we've talked about this. Cal does a very good job of stopping the run. Now, there's certainly ways to be able to negate that or to be able to take advantage of what Arizona can do, mainly having a mobile quarterback out there. Jalen DeLora, as we know, is a mobile quarterback. He didn't really show it that much against Mississippi State, but you could tell that the coaching staff told him, Jaden, you have an ability to be able to run the football, take advantage of it out there, and that's exactly what Jalen DeLora did. Now, I will say that one of the things that really does interest me about this entire game, though, is what is Arizona going to be able to do through the air? Because there's a lot of things that Arizona can do. Again, when you've got the type of receivers that Arizona does, when you got a Cowing, when you got a T-Mac, when you got a Dorian Singer, those are guys to take advantage of. Heck, a Tanner McLaughlin, how cool is that? The tight end getting in the mix right there. But Cal's got some fairly decent DBs as well, and as we've talked about, Justin Wilcox is a defensive back coach, is a defensive coach. That would be interesting to me. Now, where are we at then when it comes to Arizona's offense? We're going to find out really quickly what Arizona's offense is about because, again, this is going to be a road game. San Diego State was a road game, but, Cal has more talent than San Diego State. There's really no doubt about that. But I think where we look at this right now is we think to ourselves, all right, can Arizona go on the road against a solid team and be able to win that game against a solid defense? Cal is the epitome of that. If Arizona comes back here and they're ahead, they're up 3-1, there is a legitimate chance that you're looking at a bowl game this year and you're looking at a Jed Fish Coach of the Year situation because obviously you would obviously put the Vegas over-under at you would put that out of reach already, or that would be a push through 4 games. Then you're basically playing with house money. Okay, now, what Arizona, though, has to do, if Arizona wins this game, then I think it's bare minimum you're going to get 5 games, or you're going to get 5 wins. Now, where do you get those wins, though, from? I think that's what a lot of people are probably wondering. Mike, where do you get those wins from? Well, we're going to tell you where you can get those wins from. First, you got to be able to beat Colorado. Colorado is an absolute dumpster fire. That's the game the following week. Arizona needs to be able to win that game. And I think Arizona will win that game, mainly because Colorado stinks. That's why this game is so big. If Arizona can win this game, then you're probably in a situation right now where you can look at it and say, okay, where else can we pick off games? Where else can we pick off wins? Now, looking at this schedule right here, where exactly can they come from? The first thing that I think of, though, is I think of that ASU game at the end of the season. ASU is not good. ASU could easily have given up by now. I totally get that and totally understand that Arizona is or that Arizona State, Arizona is a rivalry game. We all understand that. We all appreciate that. That's not what I'm getting at, though, right here. What I'm looking at, though, is a team that is not very talented that I think has a very good opportunity to quit in that game under Sean Aguano. We'll see where that is. Now, what are some of the other winnable games? Wazoo is a winnable game. There is no, again, Wazoo is solid. It was a nice win. No doubt about it against Wisconsin. But Wazoo can 100% be had, as can UCLA. UCLA is not very, maybe they are good, but they haven't looked good so far this season, and they barely snuck out against South Alabama with a win. Those are games, though, that Arizona could win. So there are wins on there. The only two games that I look at and say, yeah, there's really no chance of Arizona winning that are Utah and USC. Those are the only two games. Other than that, Arizona, I think, can win pretty much any game in there. Oregon, again, is very good. Totally get that, but that also really isn't my point right there. My point is mainly that there's only two games that I look at and say, yeah, probably not going to be able to win that. That's where we are, though, with Arizona football. So we're going to get my prediction here in just a second. But want to tell you, though, first about Underdog. All right. Everybody knows about Underdog right now. The best fantasy thing going right now. It's in a pick'em league. You could have a host or go on the Underdog website, create an account, and look for the different pick'ems choice for your team each week. In your read, or identify players you're going to fill with the pick'em. In my pick'em this week, I like UNC quarterback Drake Meyer over 250 yards or 254 yards. I like Notre Dame's Drew Pine lower than 217. That's how it works. That's the kind of stuff you go in there, and it really helps the people that know what they're doing right here. Underdog is that. Now, here's all you got to do. You sign up with promo code Locked On, one word, and Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100. Double 100, get 100 free. Go to UnderdogFantasy.com or find the Underdog Fantasy app in the App Store, Google Play Store. And again, that's Underdog Fantasy. Promo code Locked On, one word. Get in the college football pick'em action today. College, there's nothing better than college football because every single week something is happening. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back with you. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats. I am your host, Mike Luke. I blew past a couple other breaks. I do apologize about that. So we're going to have to take another quick break here. But I do like Arizona to win this game. I think it's going to be a close game, but I still think that Vegas is behind on Arizona, not sucking, for lack of a better term. I think Arizona wins this game something like 34-27, 34-24. I look at it, though, and I think that Arizona is going to have a real chance to win this game. And if Arizona can win that game, it sets up all kinds of juicy bowl game possibilities right there. So certainly something to keep in mind. Again, I did a very poor job about doing the reads in the right order. So we're going to take a quick break right here, and we'll be right back with you. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, now where are we getting at? From here on out, I think that Arizona is if they win this game again, you're looking at a team that could win 6 games. People keep saying, oh, well, you know what, you can't win this, you can't win that. And yes, I'm hypocritical on that as well because I'm falling into that as well. But there's certain games, though, 2 games on there that I don't think Arizona can win. I think Arizona can win the rest of those games. So that's where we are. All right, everybody out there, again, it's an away game. I'm going to be at Tap and Bottle downtown. You can come check it out with me if you want. But this is a big game for Arizona. It's very important that they win this. It's a nice 2:30 start. So everybody out there back the A. I think that, like I said, I think Arizona's going to win this. And if you're 3-1, then if you're 4-1 after Colorado, which you will be, maybe you start getting some top 25 votes as well. But as always, everybody out there, really appreciate your time. Appreciate what you're doing. Again, I'm going 34-27, and we'll see where all the chips fall. But again, have a great weekend and a great football weekend as well. And everybody, again, we're back. We're going day by day, every single day this now. So we'll be back with you Monday, breaking down what we saw. You have been listening to the Locked On Wildcats podcast.